Here.
Johnson. Here. Kaufman.
Here.
Kensler.
Present.
Me.
Here.
Lund.
Present.
McCarville. Murrow.
Here.
Osborne.
Here.
Parkinson.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Claytonburg.
Here.
Rhodes. Here. Snell.
Present.
Swanson. Talon.
Here.
Turhall.
Here.
Trendle. Voss.
Here.
Walsh.
Present.
Ward. Here. Williams. Here. Wolf.
Present.
Getley. Here. Okay, so right now we've moved to the approval of the minutes. I believe they were sent out last spring, but since you haven't had time to review them since the beginning of the school year, I would now ask if someone would move to table approving the minutes from the last meeting, the last session, until next week.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? All opposed? Cool, we'll approve those minutes next week. With that, we'll move to reports. So first, report from Rules Committee.
Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to our second session of the year. I hope everyone had a fabulous summer. My name is Gabby Williams, just once again, in case you guys have forgotten or if you're new around here. Rules met on Monday, and we met with two potential senators. A little contentious, but we'll see what happens. But it was reported favorably, unanimously. We also met with a potential senator who we have right over here, Ms. Evelyn Ward. We met with her just about 2 seconds ago and did the run-through, and she was approved with UC as well. We have some really cool bills for tonight. A lot of it is kind of some housekeeping stuff, and then we'll have some things possibly presented on the agenda, and so you guys should have most of those bills, and then we'll kind of get those to you later. So that's all I have to do.
Thank you, Speaker Williams. Finance Director Rubisky.
You want to move me down?
I can move you down. PR, Committee Chair Bauer.
You will be down. All right, so welcome back everyone, and no one's new yet, okay, so. Okay, just to start off, since we're in a bigger room, make sure to speak up so everyone can hear you on video camera. We are continuing to record the meetings, so that'll hopefully be up later this week. First off, for everyone that participated in the GSB move at Destination Iowa State, it was a huge success. So we got a lot of new students on the email list for GSB. Over 200 students signed up for that, and we're getting likes and follows on Twitter. So we're doing good work. Primarily Academy took care of that, so congrats to them on a good job and all hard work. Secondly, GSB is really trying to utilize their social media this year because we haven't done that in the past. Twitter more so over the last semester, and the Facebook's been kind of dormant. So PR committee has been working on getting more likes on Facebook, and I'm happy to report that in over 2.5 weeks we've gotten over 100 new likes on our Facebook page. We're up to 700 now. So I challenge all of you, well, challenge of the week, Finance Director. Okay, but I challenge all of you to, if you go to the GSB Facebook page, on the right side it'll tell you how many of your friends like the Facebook page, and then it'll give you the option to invite people from Iowa State affiliated with the university to like the page. So if everyone just gets 10 people to like the page, 40 senators, it's 400 likes we get on Facebook. So please do that, and then also retweet GSB on Twitter. Follow us if you haven't followed us already at ISUGSB. And then also, I don't subscribe. Is it YouTube channel? Is that what you do on YouTube? Subscribe? Okay, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's ISUGSB also, I believe. So just kind of spreading the word of GSB through social media this year, because that's one of our easiest and most affordable tools to use. Next big thing is we have Club Fest next Wednesday. It's all of the Memorial Union. That goes from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I'll be sending out a sign-up sheet after the meeting for people to sign up and work at Club Fest. If possible, I realize that some of you have class during that whole time, and that's understandable. But if you don't have class, please sign up for at least an hour shift, if not more. The more people you have working there, the more people will be able to reach out to and get more people involved in GSB, because we do have open seats, open committee seats, so we need to recruit people. So I'll send that out after the meeting. We'll be handing out the flyers that we had at Meet Your Government Day, so the little FAQ sheets. We'll have a new trifold board, so that's pretty exciting. We'll be printing that off this week. And then we have the GSB pens again. Mary found another box in the office, so that was pretty cool. So we'll have those to hand out. But otherwise, just make sure you're interacting with new students. Don't wait for them to come to you, because they won't come to you. You have to jump out there, introduce yourself, and tell them how great GSB is and get them recruited. Next thing, like I said, I've been working on redesigning the trifold board and the hallway board that's across from the West Student Office space. So those new things will be up within a week. Also working on a new banner since we changed our logo, which I'm sure President Hughes will talk about during his address, so I'll just leave that the way it is. Website, we've been making progress on that. We're almost complete. Information's updated. We just need to get the new theme on there. So hopefully within the next week we'll have that done. Other than that, PR is going to do some great things this year. If anyone would like to come to our meetings, they will be Tuesday at 6 p.m. Still waiting on the room confirmation from people in the event management office. So our PR meetings will no longer interfere with cabinet meetings, so that's good. So Tuesdays at 6, and then if you have any other questions, ideas, stuff you'd like to see PR do this year, feel free to let myself or any of the PR members know. If you have any questions.
Do you have any questions for the PR chair, Bob? University Affairs Vice Chair White.
All right. So UA did not meet this week because we haven't scheduled a time yet. So if you are on UA, you should check your inboxes for a message from Senator Kearns, who will be scheduling one or getting a doodle out for when we can meet sometime later this week. That's all, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Vice Chair White? Okay. Vice Speaker Snell.
Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Byron. I appreciate that. The main thing that I need to tell you right now is that the office hours sheet has been sent to you by Speaker Williams. I will go and send that out again if you get 300 emails a day like I do and can't find it. But get on that sheet. Get on that sheet, and it's a Google Doc, so you'll be able to fill out what day you can do your in-office hour and your out-of-office hour. That's really all I got to tell you about that. I can't gripe about anybody not doing it right now because we're on the first week. The second thing I'm going to interject is the SSFTC thing. I'm not going to say a whole lot about that since Finance Director Diskey is going to go after me, and he probably will mention something about it. If not, I will say something for the announcements. But per almost unanimous recommendations from the Senate, I did recommend to our group that we do raise it $1.76 per semester. We're all in unanimous agreement on the committee itself. So, assuming that President Leith approves it, it will go to the Board of Regents. If anybody has any questions about that, we can talk about it now, we can talk about public announcements, or we can just ask Dan, because I don't know what he's going to say. So I'll just leave it to him, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Does anyone have any questions for Vice Speaker Snell? Particularly about office hours and that exchange through the other Senator Lawson.
Speaker Snell, Vice Speaker. It's an email that we sign up, or is it like a sheet, a spreadsheet that we...
She provided a link in that giant email,
Okay.
but like I said, tonight when I get home, I'll send it out again. Like I said, it's a Google Doc, it's shared with everybody. I'll make sure that it is shared with everybody. And just get on there. And I know you have problems with computers, so ask your roommate if he can help you out and hold your hand. He's saying no, so you might just be out of luck.
Senator Penfield.
Isn't it grand email?
Yes.
Speaker Williams.
Should they have this in on Wednesday, since that's what it's due?
let's start it next week. I know most people have been, I've seen at least half of you in there already, so let's get started on that as soon as possible. In order for us to be in compliance, we need to have everything in by next Wednesday, so let's just start next week.
Are there any further questions for the Vice Speaker? With that, we'll move to the Finance Committee report. Finance Director, DC.
Okay, so we didn't officially have a Finance Committee meeting this week yet. Hey.
There you go.
All right, so we didn't officially have a Finance Committee meeting this week. Because I guess many people on the Finance Committee would like to have a fuller committee when we actually have action items to go on. But we did kind of meet and discuss ideas for moving forward this semester. As I mentioned last spring, we're going to be looking at ways to restructure the way that GSB does funding. For a lot of people, it's not just student organizations, but and basically making sure that our funding matches our mission statement when it comes down to it. So that's the future of GSB funding, I think. But for right now, a big thing on the docket is I have at-large applications out. I sent that out in an email this summer. If you didn't get it for some reason, I will probably make sure it gets sent out again, or make sure that you have it available to you. If you know someone who should be involved in GSB, it's going to be a great place to do it, because we have a ton to do this year. So I encourage your friends to apply. I will probably be pushing the deadline out. I originally had it for this Friday, but I will push it out to probably next week from Saturday, so as to allow us to also do recruiting at Club Fest. So that's what I have for that. As Barry mentioned, we did propose a fee increase. That would bring our total student activities fee, or at least the one that goes to GSB, to $37.11 as it was proposed, but that's not final. So we will keep you updated on that as we go forward there. This evening I've been running about it at several different meetings, one of which is the annual Finance Director meeting with the Sports School Council. So I don't really have anything interesting to report with that other than I went and did it. So that's there. I've been communicating with several sports clubs. You'll hear from some of them this semester because they have ideas for different capital projects, different events that they're putting on. So you'll get to hear from them as they come. Things that will be in the near future, we have some things to discuss with both SIRIDE and Asset. So we will get to those in the next couple of weeks. I don't really have a whole lot of information on all of those. I think that it's probably best that we cross that bridge when we get there. With that, I guess if anybody has any questions, I will take those now. Otherwise,
Senator Pitt.
May I direct a question? Is there a reason we don't have a bill for the fund transfers this evening?
that is because as of, that is the one thing I don't have in my notes because I figured I would remember. So capital projects. Basically, as it was mentioned before in conversations with all of you, at least all of you in the office, basically it was an over allocation. It's 2 allocation cycles ago. This is the last time that we should have to deal with that fiscal year. But basically, we're going to be able to cover it. And so because I don't have final numbers yet, because I have not received final numbers from the accounting office, I can't tell you exactly what we need to do. So I'm waiting for final numbers before we move forward because I feel like using preliminary numbers is probably not the greatest way to go. So we will cross that bridge when we get there. Hopefully I'll have preliminary numbers so that we can run with it next week. That's also why you don't have account balances in your agenda. So I don't have those for you because they have not been finalized.
Are there any further questions for Finance Director Lacey? Anything else?
That's it. Happy meeting, guys.
With that, we'll move into comments from the executive branch, so President Hughes.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to be back at GSB Senate, although change of scenery is throwing me off a little bit. I missed that like, weird art thing on the back wall by the window. This is a little bit weird. I made a list. You know, in the spring I sent you a detailed list of how I spent the last week. I have not put that together for this summer. It will be quite a lengthy document. I'll get that out to you pretty soon. I figured I'd just kind of hit the highlights here. But I still have quite a bit that I want to mention to you, and then you can share your thoughts or ask any questions that you may have. Before I do that, one thing I want to mention was brought to my attention by Pat Miller, who's director of lectures. She wanted me to share this with you all. So if you're interested in law or academic freedom as a discussion, I would encourage you to take this note down. But the name is escaping me, but he's the chair of the law program at the University of Illinois. He's coming to campus on September 30th. That's a Monday, and he's giving a lecture in the evening. Pat Miller wanted to see if there was interest from this group, or really any students, in having a smaller discussion with him during the day on the 30th. That would be at 3 p.m. So if you are interested in maybe having a conversation with him, he's an expert in academic freedom. And like I said, he's also chair of the law program at the University of Illinois. If that's something that interests you, please contact me pretty soon so that I can get back to Pat Miller and let her know what interest is there. Okay, so moving on into what I have to talk about from over the summer. My main project, I guess, that I wasn't anticipating as becoming a project of mine, but in June, I spent quite a bit of time working on the student loan issue with staff student loan interest rates. I spearheaded a group of 13 student government presidents. Together, we authored a letter. It was sent to, they're all presidents from the state of Iowa. We authored a letter sent to the 6 members of Iowa's congressional delegation, basically asking them to do something, do anything, don't really care what, just figure something out. And they did figure something out, whether you like it or not, something got done. And in the least productive Congress in the history of America, based on the number of bills that have been passed, the student loan interest rate bill was one of them. So I feel pretty good that something got done. I also attended a conference in Washington, D.C. with a group of about 100 student government presidents. That was a pretty prevalent issue at that time as well. And they did a similar program with letters from across the country, but the Iowa project, I think, was particularly successful. I was able to connect with Congressman King and have a discussion about that issue. So that's all. Okay, moving on, something else I did over the summer, I had frequent meetings with the administration. University Budget Advisory Committee had a number of meetings. Barry already touched on what happened in SSFTC. The $1.76 increase per semester is about 4.9%. That's a figure that the group has approved, and President Lee, now it's up to him whether or not to send it to the regents. If he does send it to the regents, it'll be on the docket at their October meeting, and I will be there to defend that increase and speak to them as to why it's necessary. So I'll be sure to fill you in on what happens there. Okay, to talk briefly about something that has really sprung up recently in terms of student interest, the Kingland Systems Campus Town project. The Ames City Council voted last night to give the city manager authority to begin negotiations with the Kingland Systems in terms of the 2 questions that they're asking the city to do. I just want to clarify a few things. Kingland already owns the properties that are in question, so there's no sale to be made. What Kingland is asking the city to do is to provide a tax incentive called a TIF, which basically means that they pay fewer taxes over a period of time that are collected from increased revenue. And also they want to modify a setback requirement that the city has so that they can build something closer to the curb that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do so. So those are the 2 items Kingland is looking to do. They already own the properties, like I said. And the city voted last night to give the city manager approval to begin negotiation on those items, not to approve those items. So I'm happy to say that there's still time for students to share their thoughts, their opinions about the project as a whole. I'm going to do whatever I can to help facilitate that discussion. I saw Alex Harvey here earlier. I'm not sure if she's still here.
She's done a welcome fest.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what she said, that's right. I asked her to come next week, actually, since she is a member of the city council as the student representative. She's planning to come to this meeting next week to discuss the project and answer questions from you all. So I just want to let you all know there's still, nothing has happened yet that can't really be rolled back. Nothing really has happened, I'll say that. You still have an opportunity to share your thoughts, share your input. Personally, I am kind of neutral on the project, so no matter how you feel about it, I will be able to help you find the channel you wish to share your input. That's what I want to kind of act as a conduit for this particular project.
Something else that we talked about this summer, Senate representation as it relates to legacy and the Maricopa apartments. Is there something on the agenda for that tonight?
So,
I didn't get a chance to check the agenda.
it's all yours.
That is something that we will officially take care of pretty soon. We had a number of discussions about that. Basically, the issue hasn't been solved yet as to who has jurisdiction over those areas. But for now, a temporary, I guess we'll move forward temporarily treating them as they have kind of been designated by IRHA. Legacy is approved by IRHA, and Maricopa is a separate individual. Another thing going on, the Iowa State Daily we will be meeting with them shortly. A group of 3 members of the Daily, as well as myself, Vice President Kletcher, and Director of Student Affairs Hofer, so 3 from each side, will be sitting down talking about their conflict of interest policy, which was really a pretty significant question. In the spring, it's kind of settled down since then. We're just going to chat about what we think is best moving forward. Ideally, we want to preserve the opportunities for students, no matter what their backgrounds are, to participate in student journalism on our campus. But we understand their concerns. We want to work with them and make sure we can find a workable option. Had a number of meetings over the summer about the orange route for Sci-Ride. They're looking into some pretty significant, I would say, changes to the route because they're getting to the point where that particular route is oversaturated with buses. People are still not getting on buses, and they can't keep just putting more buses on the route. So they need to figure out a better way to accommodate the ridership on the route, and there are a number of options proposed, nothing's been finalized. Still working through that. And everything from a trolley system to a light rail system running through campus. Those probably won't happen. But they were talking about PR Chair Bauer mentioned this earlier, but GSB is moving forward with new visual identity that uses the university's visual identity system as a whole. If you've seen our Facebook page, you've seen our Twitter profile picture, both those photos are at least an example of what that will be. I have an example of our new quote-unquote logo on an old card. It's a greeting card you send somebody. It's the exact logo that we're using now, but the card is a number of years old. So it shows me that we've been here before, then we changed our mind, but now we're kind of getting back to where we need to be. So I can show you that if you'd like, it's in my office. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was there are a number of openings on the GSB Supreme Court. I believe there are 6 openings out of the 9 seats right now, which means I get to stack it however I want. If you have anybody in mind that you think would be good for that, I'm going to be opening up the application process for the Supreme Court pretty soon. I want to make sure that we get some good people on there pretty early so they have a year to kind of learn things. And I just mentioned that if you do have someone in mind, ideally they would be an underclassman. It would be nice if we could get some continuity on the court. But I'm not going to exclude somebody who's interested and is a good candidate if they are an upperclassman. That concludes my litany, and I will leave any questions.
Yeah, just another question. On the Supreme Court, are they all associate justice openings?
I have a meeting with Ryan Peterson on Friday to discuss his future with the court.
Are there any further questions for President Hughes? Thank you.
Sorry, Ryan Peterson is currently the Chief Justice. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you all. Let's have a good meeting tonight.
With that, we will move into programs for the meeting. So at this time, please close your laptops. And I will invite our GPSS, so the Graduate Professional Student Senate President, okay, you have to tell me how to say your last name. I don't want to mess up. Is it Prisacari? Yes, you got it. Perfect. So Anna will be speaking to us tonight and telling us a little bit more about issues that are facing graduate and professional students. So Anna, the floor is yours. Perfect.
Well, officially welcome to a great new year. My name is Anna Prisacari, and I am the president of Graduate and Professional Student Senate. But before I begin with all my announcements and all the items I have on my quite short list, I would like to first introduce myself because I don't believe I know all of you. I know some of you, and I just want to take 30 seconds to say a little about who I am and what I do. I'm a fourth-year PhD student in Human-Computer Interaction Program and Psychology, and my research involves testing or how to improve testing students in chemistry discipline in particular. So if testing affects you, you're unhappy or have comments, let me know. I'll go to your dissertation. In the past, I've been a member of Student Union Board, so I've been working with GSB for quite a while, since my first year. And then I became the president of the Russian-speaking Student Association, so I was here as president of that organization several times. And last year I got involved in GPSS. I was on the executive board as chief information officer, and this year I was elected as the president. So this is not my first time being here, but my first time being with this group. So I hope we'll have a very exciting and productive year together. First of all, I'm very excited to see how the new student enrollment will affect both senates. As you probably know, there are a lot of students, and it affects both senates in some ways differently and in some ways similarly. So students, graduate students complain they have to teach more. Classes, the size of the class, availability of buildings. And those items are on the agenda of the president to solve in upcoming years by hiring more faculty, for example, so more faculty can bring more graduate students here to our campus. But before I move on to what are my objectives for this year, I just wanted briefly to highlight a few things that we're very proud that we accomplished last year. For those who were here last year will know that the split ratio was changed from 60-40 to 50-50. That resulted in a slight increase of about 25% of GPSS annual budget. So we went from 123,000 to 154,000. So we have slightly more money. Also, this year, as July 1st, we have a new policy, which is called Arrival of a Child Policy. Graduate students are in citizenship here. And if you decide to build family or increase your family by having children, you will have to take time off, and that will be unpaid time. Unfortunately, if you are paid by grant or you on grant through your professor, that would be very difficult to do. So we brought this issue for many, many years, and finally it was approved. So now each graduate student is allowed to take up to 6 weeks and be fully paid to become a new parent, pretty much. And that covers if you adopt a child, not only to give birth to a child. And to not discriminate man, it would apply to both genders. So father can take opportunity of the same policies as females. And if both are graduate students, they can split 6 weeks in any ratio they want, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, or 2. So that gives a lot of opportunity to become more family-oriented campus for graduate population. So we were really excited about that. 2 days ago, we held our first GSB Senate Meeting. We meet only once a month, so we run a little differently from GSB. And we passed it was third read and final pass of our Constitution, which we review every year. And according to that Constitution, some minor changes occurred, and one of them was to change the Senate ratio. In the past, each senator represented 50 graduate students or professional students within his department, and we changed the ratio to 100. So we reduced slightly the size of our Senate so we can still hold our meetings here in Laurel Union, because our Senate side was over 100 senators. So we don't have to sit in other locations. Yeah, roll call was a nightmare. So to solve that problem, we passed a bill to purchase liquors. So in September, we will be purchasing roughly 100 liquors. So each senator will vote remotely. I know you're jealous now. And also it will eliminate the roll call for us, which roughly will save us 30 minutes of each Senate time. So we're very excited, and we see how that is going to go. All the senators were, no one objected to that bill. Also, what that will allow us to do is to post on our website how each senator votes for every single bill. So the constituents can look at those results and see why did you vote against or in support of that bill, and have those conversations outside of the Senate. So we are really bringing a lot of transparency to our actions this year. So this is what has been happening until now. So what about from now on for this year? We have a lot of very ambitious projects for this year, and one of them is to improve the process us to receive on a first-come, first-served basis up to $200 to travel and present his or her research at a conference. If you're not presenting, you're allowed to apply up to $120. This is our biggest expense because it's on a first-come, first-served basis. So we opened, just a few days ago, we opened the applications for fall semester, and we already have over 60 applications. We are continuously depleting our budget because of this. And a lot of students are trying and asking us for a better process to accommodate more students. So if you know, the process does require you to show us the confirmation letter that you've been accepted to a conference. So why should we give you money if we don't know you'll be there in the first place? So what if your conference is in January and you receive that letter of acceptance in October, and in September we have no more money? So those kind of issues have created the debate that we need to improve the process to accommodate more students to travel for the professional event. Also, we are working hard to build our website to not only be more user-friendly, but also to be more green. We have a lot of processes that are similar to GSB, like regular allocations, special allocations. We also have senator verification applications that were on paper. So students print it off, write it down, chase their advisors to get signatures, and then come and chase us to give those papers to us. So we thought, why not move all of this to online format? So this is one of the things that will allow us not only to save paper and time for our constituents and senators, but also the time to review this process will be quicker for the committees. They may not even meet face-to-face, since everyone will receive that via emails. But also, it would allow us to keep this data, so create a database and reuse that information. Most of the student organizations apply for the same kind of amount for the same reasons, so they already will have this data with us. Another project for us is to create new leadership awards. Currently, there are no awards for graduate professional students to recognize their leadership on campus. So this will be brought to Senate discussion to see whether we can create new leadership so students can be recognized at the graduation ceremony, which is already approved by the Graduate College and Provost Office. Also, we're very excited for this year because we are bringing completely new events to graduate students. And one of them we are introducing or reintroducing the graduate orientation. So for you, you already have a mandatory destination Iowa State. But there's nothing currently for graduate students, especially if you're an international student. So we're bringing this graduate orientation back. And over the summer, I was working with the Graduate College, inviting many speakers from health services, legal services, to notify graduate students what services are being available to them. So when they do have questions, they know where to go. And we were estimating about 90 to 100 students. As of today, it's 178 who have registered for that event. So we are too happy about that. The next event that I would like to introduce, and it will affect you directly, and I've been talking to Dan at the meeting that I had with your president and vice president. But the first time we will be bringing a research conference called Graduate and Professional Student Research Conference, which will allow all of us to present our research in professional but very informal manner, our research to each other. And also what we have been receiving feedback from undergraduate students, and when I was talking to, I forget her name, who's in charge of undergraduate symposium? Dana? Yes. And when I brought this idea to her, she supported it heavily, is to create a panel of graduate students and invite undergraduate students to ask questions to graduate panel. What is it like to be a graduate student? So this panel is not to promote to become a graduate student here at Iowa State, but to explain what is a graduate school like. What do you need to know, or other concerns or questions you have about a graduate school. So we're creating this panel, but of course, we cannot create something for you without your input. So I spoke to Hillary about maybe having 1 or 2 students to serve on that committee, or planning committee, that will help us to plan this event for your constituents. And now, probably the most exciting is something that I would like to briefly mention. So what is it like, or what is the relationship to BSS and GSB this year? So we had several meetings. My vice president, Brian Flack, we met with Hillary and Spencer, and we discussed this over the summer and spring, and we just met on Monday. So what are our objectives for both Senates? And I believe both of us agree that collaborating and being transparent in communication is not only preferred, but mandatory to be effective in both Senates and effectively represent all students here in campus. So some of the things that are on both of our agendas is to revise the split, 50-50. The question is it appropriate split? What does it mean? And I see this coming up again and again over the years. So what we would like to do is, it will be up to our treasurer and Dan to decide whether they want to do a committee or open meeting, to decide, is there a possibility to calculate that split and maybe create a formula, or something that for the next leaders to avoid those further discussions. So it goes back 60-40, 40-60, 50-50. But let's decide from now on what it should be from now on and establish some ground rules how this split should remain from now on to minimize any future conversations. Another item on my list to discuss with you are the student fees. So both Senates sit in the Special Student Fee Committee, and there were 4 student fee proposals. One of them was GSB, a new increase in your fees of 4.99. Then there was SciRights, there was a new proposal from Daily, and from ISSO office, which is International Students and Scholars Office. We discussed, I introduced all of those fees with all the information to the Senate on Monday, and we had quite an interesting discussion on that, but about student fees primarily. So we did not really talk much about GSB and SciRights, but we did talk happily about ISSO proposal. And I would like to share those comments with you to encourage you to have the same conversation here in the Senate. So what is the proposal of ISSO? They are asking to incorporate a one-time fee for international student orientation. It's $120, so how would that affect undergraduates? It will be on top of Destination Iowa State fee, totaling $350 that each undergraduate international student will be charged. This fee will be charged not only to undergraduate, but graduate and professional international students. So in the committee, we did not have anyone from ISSO office, so I did not direct my questions. So what I did, I emailed James Dorsett, who's the director of ISSO, simply asking, can you explain what is $120 and how will it be spent? And his reply to me on Monday, it starts with, I'm afraid I cannot give you much detail at this point. So without even providing the answer to my question, it just got me more questions. So they're asking for $120 without even knowing how they want to spend. They have never talked to international students in the first place. So even if they do happen to have a plan to spend this $120, students are not aware of that and did not contribute to that conversation. So what I did next, after Senate, that those questions were popping and saying, well, if they don't know how to spend it, why should we grant them this money? So I sent an email to all international students that I know here at campus, both undergraduate and graduate, and I have some replies that I printed them off. I just took the names so they are on this, and I have a copy for all of you. So if you want to read all of them, it's only about 20, so it's not a lot, but it's a good proportion, or at least something. And what I will ask you and encourage your Senate to do is to discuss this further tonight, if time permits, because the voting is next week. And if you do come across more information that I do, I'll ask you to share that with Spencer and Hillary. They will forward that information to me. But at this time, GPSS is not supporting this fee. For the reasons that students are not aware of those fees, they feel like all the current orientations that we already have for them describing what they should know by now. So current orientations that do exist are Destination Iowa State for the grads. ISO is already doing some orientation for free, and students are satisfied with that. We're putting together graduate orientation, and graduate students already have their own orientation. So there are already a lot of different orientations available on campus without charging students additional fee. Plus, a lot of multicultural student organizations have their own orientation for their own students of their country or nationality. So there's a lot of different events already taking place. So please keep this in mind if you have further questions or you come across more information than I do. Please share that with me so I can share that with international graduate students to figure it out whether this should be yes or no on Tuesday or sometime next week when we go into committee to vote. So what I have is a copy of my email, response from James Morrison, all the feedback that I have from international students. I'll keep this, I'll give it to you and read it through and please decide what would be the most appropriate things to do. And I do encourage you to talk to international students that you know outside of this room. Are there any international students in GSB? No? Okay, so no one can even speak now. Okay. So please do talk to other students. Your office is next to IC office. So this would be another suggestion for me to you. One of the suggestions that did come from this GPSS Senate on Monday was if there is a need for additional service for international students, international senators were suggesting to give money to International Student Council through regular allocations that GSB has, and to allow them to contribute that way through student fees that we're collecting. So that would involve international students in orientation, provide more leadership opportunities, and connect better with international students rather than giving money to administration. So that was one of the suggestions that did come from the Senate. And lastly, I want to take this opportunity to share some announcements with you that I am personally very excited about this. Over this summer, myself, a professor, and another graduate student, we applied for a grant to open a new graduate learning community to be available to undergraduate, graduate, professional, faculty, and staff to talk about teaching experience, to share some tricks, strategies, to discuss anything what you as a student enjoy or dislike in your professors. So we who do teach, we can think about that and improve our own teaching when we do go into classrooms. So that learning community, the grant was approved, so we have now $1,000 to spend this year. And our first meeting, but it's not a meeting, it's a picnic, potluck, will be on Sunday, September 15th. I can forward this information to someone if someone is interested in attending that picnic. If you love teaching, or you have something to say about teaching, or just meet other faculty to discuss about teaching, please do. Because I do remember several questions during the panel last fall when students were addressing, well, I have an international TA, I don't understand him, or what things do you do as a university or administration to help me to get a better professor next semester? So those are the kind of questions that we'll be talking about. Anything that relates to teaching. Another information that I'd like to share with you, there's a new program called International Students Mentoring Program that I believe is run by ISSO. It's a new program. They just started last year. But what they're trying to accomplish is to prepare an American student to view international students. So if anyone is interested in mentoring a new international student, you should contact ISSO, and I do have their emails, just SciMentor@iState. Very easy to remember. And lastly, for the graduate orientation, the first one that we'll be having next week, we would like to videotape that orientation so it will become available to students to do right here in spring. So if you know anyone who is a good videographer and possibly to not charge us for that, please let me know so I can contact that person and it'll be free food and beverages. And all of you are more than welcome to attend by email. So all of this information that I have, I can email to someone to share with the rest of you. And now I agenda.
At this time, the floor is open to questions. Vice Speaker Snell.
Thanks, Progressive Speaker.
You may.
Hey, thanks for coming out. It's good to see you. Actually, it's really good to see you at the beginning of the year. A lot of times you see GSS at the end of the year or when they want something. So it's nice to have a social visit.
It's not a new Gabby, so thank her.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you want to come, just let her know and we'll chat together. Quick question, since a lot of people don't know a lot about GPSS, you mentioned that you do regular allocations. In addition to, that's one part of your budget, in addition to funding people who go to conferences. What kind of things do you allocate during your general allocations for what kind of activities?
Oh, general events, okay. Generally, we fund events that help graduate students, professional students to either develop professionally, academically. They do frequently have events to, for example, share their research or talk about the research, peer mentoring, read my article, what you think, and let's have pizza after that. So anything that helps them to develop academically is number one priority. Sometimes they bring speakers, but they do their own department for their students. So those are the top events that we see. It's very common to see on one of the list of regular applications.
Okay, great. Thank you, I yield.
Speaker Williams. Commander, Speaker. Anna, thank you for coming. It worked out perfectly that you came on the first meeting. I appreciate it. Just a few things. What's the date of the orientation? You said it's next week.
It's next Thursday, September 5th at 5:30 at the Alumni Center.
Perfect. And then for ISSO, there's a new $120 fee, but what was the previous fee? What does that cover? Is that just a...
There's no current fee for international students for orientation period. So currently ISSO is operating, I don't know what funds they use. But it will be an additional fee for undergraduate international students because we currently pay for participation out of state. Okay. So if you're undergraduate and international students, then you have two orientation fees.
Okay. Perfect. All right, thank you. Finance Director, just need to do a clarification on that.
Just so you know, there's a $195 fee that every student pays for the new student programs matriculation fee. And this is the one on top of that. This was, it's listed as a supplemental new student programs / matriculation fee for undergraduate international student orientation. So that is what the fee in question is.
So when the information is paid as soon as they accept their offer of admission.
Correct.
Speaker Williams. Senator Merle.
Okay, can I address the speaker?
You may.
You mentioned calculation for funding GPSS instead of doing the 50-50 split. I was just interested in your thought process for any criteria for that, and in light of the fact that we did just switch it, and that was a long debate.
Sure. Well, to answer your question, I don't have an answer. I don't know what is the best way to calculate that split. And that is why I talked to our treasurer and addressed GPSS, and I'm encouraging you to consider forming a merging committee that will be composed of our senators and your senators to have that conversation. What is the best way to calculate that split?
I just wanted to ask, what's the main motivating factor for changing it from
From
50-50? Yeah.
The question is, what does it mean 50-50 and why is it 50-50? Can you answer that question?
Why is it 50-50?
Can you answer why is it 50-50 and not 70-30?
Why is it not 60-40?
Or why is it not 20-80?
Okay. All right.
Anything for Senator Merle? Senator Merle. Senator Spade.
I just want to also thank you so much for coming this evening. And as someone who came to the meetings last year, did get a lot of interaction with Corey outside of different meetings. I would listen with him. It's nice to see you in here. I just wanted to commend you on all the progress that you guys are making. It seems like your organization is really getting a lot done, and it's very impressive. And I think a model we should all aspire to in this room to trying to get in work and really live up to what you're doing for your students. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Gonzalez.
Again, thank you for coming.
Yes, I'm address the speaker.
And So I was just wondering, since I thought something that really stuck out for me was your clicker integration little spiel. I was wondering just who set it up as my contact with that? Because I love your concept.
Sure. Last year he was a senator. This year he's the Chief Information Officer, ARCA, and the email just GPSS-CIO at ISA. He was the author of that video.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Senator Boss.
Just to answer that last question, 50/50. It was made because I made the amendment to change it to 50/50. But it was just something, we wanted to give you more money, and we didn't know if it was at the time, so it was just a compromise. And of course, it needs to be looked into, but it was just something that we could only, it was almost an impasse if we did it, so. That's just all I have.
Are there any further questions for our speaker? That and, oh, sorry. Vice Mayor Snell.
Andrew, speaking one more time. And the clicker system. That's something that we're looking into. There's a couple of Senator Benzoni over here who just asked you a question. He's been kind of taking the lead on that here the past few days. How's that working out for you?
Well, we just passed the Constitution that will allow us to make that change. So what we did so far, from South, we receive free receiver as a student organization, and the software is free to download on behalf of Iowa State. All we needed was, the biggest challenge was to find a laptop because it's not PC friendly. It's PC friendly, it's not Mac friendly, and our CIO has a Mac laptop. So for us was to look into a laptop. And we just received that donation from the graduate college to use one of their older laptops. And that's what will be used for receiving clicker and downloading the software.
Do you anticipate a pretty smooth transition?
We do. We hope to finalize the purchase and have the first passed in our September meeting.
Okay. I'll probably get back in touch with you, or maybe Senator Benzoni will.
Our offices next to each other, can you see me?
Great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for our speaker?
Talon.
Senator Talon.
Hi. After the meeting, may I get your contact information, because I know the College of Design is filled with aspiring videographers.
Well, that's great.
I can put the word out there.
Perfect. It's GPSS president of ISA. I almost forgot the email. That's not good.
Are there any further questions?
By the way, if you have any other comments, suggestions, or questions, feel free to email me. The email is easy on my email every day, or at least 20 hours a day. So,
Are there any further questions for our speaker? Anna, thank you very much.
So I'll leave the copy of feedback that I got regarding the international student team, and get pass it around and give it back to the center. I haven't seen a copy for myself, but I just wanted to share what I got at this time about that. Thank you again.
Our group of the week, I assume this is approximately is okay. With that, we'll move into open forum. So this is time for open discussion for issues relevant to students. Vice Speaker.
You can make me go last.
Okay.
Vice Speaker first? No? Okay. Senator Finn.
Yeah.
I move at this time to add bill number 2013-2-019F, running bulkhead to the end of new business.
Can you repeat that, please?
2013-2-019F. Letting go. Go.
Are there any objections? Okay, that'll be added on to the end of business. Senator Bauer.
I forgot to mention during my report that the retreat for all GSB is September 21st. It's a Saturday. There's no football game that day, anything like that. It's between the hours of 11 and 5 p.m. We haven't finalized the schedule yet. It won't go until 5. We'll just block off that time block. We can't say that it's mandatory, but you better have a very good excuse if you're not there. If you have questions about that, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll be getting the schedule out within a week or so.
Election Commissioner Governor, you may take the podium.
You guys all coming? Yeah. So, like Vice President Castro said, my name is Adam Cunningham. I'm the Election Commissioner. Like you forgot it. I just kind of want to give an update. Like many of you have applications. We have 1 in 7 openings on the Elections Commission. We need to have 1 person to start meeting, and we get up to 7 people. So we haven't had no one apply. So if you know anyone that is interested, they can get an application on the GSB website, the GSB Facebook account. On Mary's desk, it's a stack of 10 applications on a ledge. They can email me, or they can get sign up on the list at ClubFest, I believe. I've already scheduled a meeting. I emailed to start scheduling a meeting with the registrar's office in the 3rd week, so I can get a 10-day count to start doing apportionment, and I guess again, it'll just be apportionment. And hopefully by then, I will have worked out with Steve Williams, over campus town boundaries and anything, so that we don't have any issues like we had last year. So this little update of what I did over the summer with elections is we met a good portion of you in April, so I consolidated a lot of the ideas that I got from you guys, the election commission and some of the other election people I met before I emailed at different universities. And this year I decided I'm going to do the info sessions a little bit different. And then I'll be going around different groups trying to recruit them, per se, to come. And I'm not 100% sure, but it didn't seem like the November session was something that you guys were interested in, like beyond the January session. So I may or may not do that unless you have a strong desire to have one. So yeah, mostly just we need people to apply for the election commission. The due date for that will be September 30th, which is Monday. And that'll be our second meeting of the election commission. So we can't really vote on anything until we have 6 people, so that'll be it. At this time, are there any questions?
Thank you, Election Commissioner Governor. President Hughes.
Thanks. Just wanted to kind of briefly talk about what GSS President Prisacari mentioned with the ISSO orientation funding. So that was a meeting that myself, Vice President Fletcher, Vice Speaker Finance Director Wittes, you were all in on at the SSFTC meeting. It was mentioned currently there's no separate fee for international student orientation at Iowa State. This is unusual. It's listed, it's included for consideration on the list of what's called the common fees for the regional institutions. What a common fee is a fee that exists at least 2 of the 3 universities between Iowa State, Iowa, and UNI. The international student orientation fee is already a common fee. It already exists at both Iowa and at UNI. At the University of Iowa, it's $120 for undergraduates and $250 for graduate students. And the fee proposed at Iowa State is $120 for all students. Excuse me. The UNI wasn't able to find the information, but this is the region institutions in our state are already at the low end. Just as an example, a school on our peer group, Ohio State, their international student orientation fee is $500. One example was provided by the registrar. I forget the school, it's either Illinois or Indiana, but it was $2,500 as a fee that's on top of tuition for international student orientation. As a former Cyclonate, someone who worked throughout Destination Iowa State, I had a group of international students at one point during Destination Iowa State and the challenges that confronted them in a new world, new language around new people that they didn't know. It's something that I could never imagine going through myself. So I believe that this is a small price for them to pay really to have better assimilation into Iowa State University and give them the opportunity to succeed right at the start. It'll improve retention rates for international students and it'll improve academic success for international students. So I just wanted to give my perspective on the ISSO fee proposal. And if we do approve it here, it will be a common fee to all 3 regions So that's just my take.
Are there any questions for President Hughes about that? Okay. Senator Kinzer.
When James Dorsett that proposed the fee through his office, or who proposed the fee to your chair?
The fee, as I saw it was on the list of common fees proposed. It was brought to us by the registrar. It is for international students, so I'm confident that James Dorsett was involved in the formulation of the fee.
Was there any, like I know when certain fees are proposed, there's some sort of like a justification or breakdown of what they think they can spend money on. Was there any of that you saw?
It was listed in the document of fees that each had about 1 to 2 paragraph justification, so there wasn't a detail in terms of numbers.
Okay.
It's just the ideas of improving retention, academic success, and better assimilation. Those are the general concepts.
Okay.
Senator Bauer.
Mayor, President. You may not know this, but so it would be separate from DIS then, international students?
So the fee as it stands, the fee now is assessed to all incoming undergraduate students, whether they're transfers or from high school. It does not include graduate students. That is $195, as Finance Director Radisky said. This international student fee of $120 would be assessed to all new international students, be they undergraduates or graduate students. So the total new student fee for international undergraduate students would be $315. For international graduate students, it would be $120. So this would be on top of the others.
Okay.
Did you also have a question? Senator.
Mayor, Mr. President. So is it your concern that the programming provided by our new student programs is not currently sufficient for international students? And then would you be comfortable voting for the fee, given the details we got from Ms. Prisacari, that there weren't really any details about the fee at this time?
To answer your question about the new student programs office, the services that are provided to international students are separate from the services that I'm most familiar with and that you would be most familiar with as well as during our time of Cycle A. So the money that goes to support Cycle A, as an example, who are by far the most qualified people for new students, they don't work for the international students. They have a separate program with separate people who run that. And it's my understanding that that program needs some support because there's no dedicated fee for international students. And like I mentioned before, this is very unusual. Most campuses do have a fee. And most campuses have a fee that's higher than the one that's being proposed here. I do want to make one clarification from what I said earlier that Finance Director Radisky just brought me here. On the document we had, it's listed as a fee for undergraduate students only. Vice Speaker Snell might be able to help me out. We had a conversation about it being changed to apply to graduate students as well. Yes. But that proposal hasn't been formalized. So as it stands now, the fee would only be for undergraduate students, but there is a potential for that to be inclusive of all new students. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Speaker Williams.
May I address the president?
You may.
This kind of piggybacks off of that, but do you know since it's on top of DIS, is it just for like that orientation period, like for those few days, or would it, I mean, you might not know this or not, but would it be something that might be a little bit more professional to actually have assimilation throughout like those first few weeks?
We have the actual document that Finance Director Radisky will read.
So this is the basis of what we have. This is what would actually go in the current listing of organized fees for the common fees. The common fees listing. So it's listed as the supplemental new student programs / matriculation fee for undergraduate international student orientation. This supplemental new student programs matriculation fee will be charged to international students and will supplement the budget received from the new student programs matriculation fee to enhance orientation and other transition programs and activities unique to the international student population. This program is designed to supplement the standard undergraduate new student programs at Iowa State University. Revenue from this $120 student fee will provide International Students and Scholars Office, in collaboration with the 6 undergraduate colleges, the funding necessary to plan and deliver transition programming and services, especially designed to help new undergraduate international students be successful at Iowa State. The fee is charged to all new undergraduate degree-seeking students in a non-immigrant status. So that is as it reads, and then part of our discussion about that is, I think part of the reason why they bring the undergraduate colleges into it is that typically, once they get done with orientation, a lot of students end up, the biggest resource is their university department, but the university department doesn't necessarily have any funds set aside to specifically work with international students.
And that was more of my question, was it just for orientation and, you know, have a good 2 days, or is it actually something that could be brought through maybe their first few weeks or whatever?
I mean, I don't have all of the information, but that was one thing that was brought up as a weak point in our current system.
Senator Birch.
I just kind of wanted to piggyback on a few of the things that GPSS President Anna Prisacari touched on and President Hughes and Finance Director Rudinski touched on. I was at the GPSS meeting on Monday where Anna presented this fee to everyone, and the reactions there ranged from vehemently against $120 to this might be a good idea, but we think $120 is too much. So I have a general idea of what graduate students would think of this fee. And granted, graduate students in their departments traditionally have their own orientations. It may not be as extensive as what ISSO is planning, but they're there. Being a graduate student, I don't know what's available to undergraduate students in terms of my being a native English speaker, an American, what's available in terms of orientation. I know DIS exists, but I've never gone through it. I don't know what it is. So I can't imagine what the undergraduates who come in from a different country understand or what they go through. So many of you guys in this room are undergraduates. I would encourage you guys to reach out to some of those international communities, see what they feel about this. Because I thought it was a little unusual that there was no fee, or the fee was a little bit lower. But like I said, I kind of have an idea of what graduate students go through. I have no idea what goes on with us in the university. So I would encourage some discussion there.
A couple things. As Spencer pointed out, the current language is undergraduate students, so right at this very moment, this falls in our court. So we can take GPSS's opinion under advisement in making our decision regarding this, but ultimately, as long as the state's undergraduate matter, theirs is just an opinion, and ours is the one that matters. That's the fundamental fact. As Dan said, there's no discrete budget for any sort of international student orientation. A lot of the stuff is done out of the goodness of the hearts of the people who work for ISSO. I actually encountered a very good example about 2 weeks ago. Some of you know I've been working here over the summer, and about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 international students, undergraduates, arrived here from China. They were looking to stay at the hotel. The hotel was booked up upstairs. I don't know if you guys know, all of you know that there's a hotel upstairs. So they stopped by here and they wanted to see if they could get a hotel because they were not able to get into their dorms until the next day. The MU hotel was booked up. That basically, put it bluntly, screwed them because they have no vehicle, they have no friends here, they have no contacts here, they have nothing except for, you know, maybe a phone number of somebody who works in an office in Beershire or wherever during the day, during the week, and this was on the weekend. So we called one of the ISSO people, and I called her at 3 in the morning and asked her what she wanted to do here. She came here, picked them up, and took them to a Best Western, and then she went back in the morning, picked them up, and then took them back to their dorms. She did that on her own. So they ain't part of any organized project or anything like that. So that was all in her own time, all in her own dime. So these are the things that this fee I would expect would go to because there is no infrastructure for this kind of thing. Like Amy said, that's kind of a shock. It's like, wow, for as many international students as we have, how can that be? But that's the fact of the matter. Last thing, for those of you who were involved last year with the creation of the new mentoring program, international mentoring program, I'll draw your attention to the survey that they did regarding some of the difficulties that international students coming to the university and adapting and integrating into our culture. They found it exceptionally difficult. They found that they were isolated, and we all know this. They kind of hang out by themselves, and we kind of hang out by ourselves. And I think there was a great undertone of despair in a lot of the feedback that they had when they were doing the research, the surveys regarding the mentorship program. So I think that ISSO knows this, and the mentorship program is one part of a bigger whole that they're trying to construct here. And this $120 will go towards helping international students adjust, the very exact thing that we were trying to help out with the International Mentorship Program. So that, I am personally in favor of it, but my appointment on GSB, this is not the Republic of GSB, so I'm not terribly independent. If your opinion is dead against it, then that has got to be what my recommendation to SSFDC is. But I think that those of you who've been around know that there is some truth in the matter that being an international student is really hard. You get dropped off in a country, you don't know the language very well, you don't know the culture at all, it's the first time here, and also you're going to spend the next 4 or 5 years of your life here. Have fun. I think it's reasonable for the International Students Office to ask for $120. A lot of places are $200, $300, $500. So that's all I got to say about that. Thanks.
Senator Rowe, I just want to make a point on Senator Snell. I recently received a job at the bookstore, and I had an international girl come in and ask me for all these things that she needed. And I had a hard time understanding her because she had a very thick accent. I mean, she came in a kimono to the bookstore and was like, look at your things. And I'm like, well, you need to go to the mall. And she didn't even know what a mall was. She didn't know what Skyride was. She didn't know what the bus was. And she was looking for a purse and a new pair of shoes and a jacket because she didn't have one. So I think this is really important.
Finance Director Nisky. Is there any, since this is something we're discussing at this point, is there any further discussion on this topic? Okay, with that, we'll move back into open forum in general. Finance Director Nisky.
Does anyone have any other questions about the student fees that were brought up during that discussion? Because I guess while we're talking about fees, we can probably talk about any and all of them, but I think all of them were outlined by UPSS President. But we can answer any questions about them. We can also have this outside of the Senate if you'd like. I think all of us are more than happy to share what we've been spending our time on over the summer.
Liz, here's some of your question.
I do not.
Okay. Staff review.
Just real quick, she mentioned that there was a new daily fee up for grabs or being proposed. Can you clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, pull up.
I have a copy of this, guys. I don't know if this looks familiar. There's a copy down on Mayor's desk, labeled Senate copy. So we all have access to one of these.
You can just read it from there. I mean, you can answer the question just as well as I can.
Oh, it's $5 a semester per student, $2 in the summer. That's what they're asking for. Do you want to address the reaction of the committee? Okay. Okay. May I speak then, since I'm not technically recognized? Okay. All right, so the Iowa State Daily came to SSFDC and they requested a new publications fee for the Iowa State Daily that would be assessed to all the fee-paying students at Iowa State. Their request was $5 per student per semester and $2 per student during the summer. They gave us a multitude of reasons why. we can talk about that for 15 minutes, but if you really want to know, you can ask me after, or ask Dan, so we don't drag our heels tonight on this. Unless somebody has questions, that's cool. When I asked you guys in the email what y'all thought of it, I think there's only 5 or 6 of you who didn't reply, so I pretty much have everybody's reply on Senate. Not a single one of you was in favor of the fee. Nobody. In fact, some of the replies were rather colorful. I won't repeat what they were. So it was a very, not just a no, but a very strong no. And therefore that is what I have brought to the table to Dan and Spencer. I happen to agree that it shouldn't be instituted at this time. However, the flip side of that coin is I believe that at least Spencer, maybe some other ones of us that will cross that bridge when we get there, we'll be meeting with the Daily and the university to explore other options that don't amount to a new fee on the Daily. We do have a contract with the Daily, so there is room to maneuver there. We also, there's lots of, when you get people in the room, new ideas come, and that's really what we want to do in the future. We all agree to a person in here, the Daily is a valuable resource, so we don't want the Daily to go away. But at the same time, we have a lot of different publications on campus, and they don't get a discrete fee. So it would probably be inappropriate to pick one and isolate the one and give them a discrete fee when, Sketch and Trend and, any of the other papers and publications don't get the same thing. So, where we're at now, if anybody has any ideas, you can either bring them to me. Perhaps most appropriately would be Spencer, since he's in contact with them most frequently. Everybody knows President Hughes back here. So I would take those, if anybody has any ideas or anybody is interested in being involved in that process. I'm sure he's got an open door policy. Take your ideas to him. If anybody has any additional input, we haven't made the final recommendation to SSFTC yet. So if anybody has any more input, it's still in process. We're still talking about it. It's still an open door. However, my prediction is that it will not be recommended. If anybody feels strongly one way or the other, you know how to find me. I'm always in the Western Out space. Gunther's back there. He wants to ask me a question.
Yes, election commissioner.
So if the ISU Daily did get a fee, would that be on top of the already contract that GSB gives them?
If it was instituted in the next fiscal year without us changing the conditions of the contract or renewing it, yes, it would be on top of it.
Thank you.
Senator Gonzalez, do you have a question regarding this?
As a point of information, correct me if I'm wrong, the contract states that they receive a student fee, that the contract is null and void. Am I correct?
That may be the case.
From what I've read.
I haven't reviewed the contract.
Okay. I haven't read it in a while. If that's the case, then yes, I would imagine the contract.
There's a copy there.
I know where it is, I just haven't read it in the last 3 days.
This is an ongoing conversation. This started back in the spring, so this is all an ongoing thing. They've come to us. I'll punt back to Spencer. He wants to.
Just a real quick point in that conversation with, I would say, Daily, if this fee were to happen, they would back out of the contract provision. And so, I guess, Senator Fish's point wouldn't really be relevant. They would voluntarily do so regardless of the provision.
The difficulty here, I mean, this is politics at its finest. We have one party that wants something, we have another party that doesn't want to give it, but we all agree that the service that the fee is to go for is a necessary and important thing. So with the two opposite opinions, at some point we're going to have to come together and find some solutions. We don't want the Daily to go away. The Daily is one of the oldest student organizations. I used to work for the Daily, I enjoyed working for the Daily. I like what the Daily does, even though sometimes, obviously, they aren't the kindest to GSB. But what they do is great, and nobody's advocating it goes away. They have some financial difficulties because they're having financial difficulties because People don't put ads in the paper like they used to anymore. You know, the classified section is, you know, this much of a broadsheet now. And when I was here 10 years ago, it took up 3 pages. Nobody's advertising apartments like they used to. Nobody's advertising a lot of different things like they used to. So the daily is having to evolve. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Nobody's giving them money, so they're reaching out to us as the student body government to try and help them solve that problem and help to come to a solution. There are only a handful of people. They don't know all the options. They don't have the resources that we do, the contacts with peer that we do. So I know a few of you feel strongly about this, but in them coming to us and asking for this fee or asking for an increase in the contract, that is basically a way of them reaching out to us for help. And that's an opportunity that, regardless of where we vote, I think that it behooves us and the student body to try and help daily if we can.
Are there any further questions regarding this topic? As Vice Speaker Snell mentioned, there is a packet of information that was presented to the Special Student Fee and Tuition Committee in the West Student office space, and of course you can ask Finance Director Rudisky, President Hughes, myself, or Vice Speaker Snell if you have any questions.
Peter, do you have a question?
Vice Speaker Snell, do you have something additional?
Not to that.
Okay. Senator Mizzo.
I just wanted to point out that these discussions are best kept for the first read week after introducing the bill. It seems a bit silly for us to bring them up before we do.
I will remind you, Senator Mizzo, that this is a time for open forum and discussion of any issues relevant to students, and I believe it was appropriate at this time. But thank you for your input, and I agree, discussion outside of Senate meetings is also very helpful as we move forward and represent students. Vice Speaker Snell.
Okay, are we done? We're moving on?
Yes.
Awesome. At this time, I move to add 8 bills, and I'm going to read these off in a group to the bottom of new business. They're all first reads, nobody freak out. First one, Senate Bill 2013-2-017F, creating an election commission account.
What? I approve.
Is there any objection to adding this to the bottom of the business?
All right. The next one, Senate Bill 2013-2-018F, creating a public relations account.
Is there any objection to adding that to the bottom of the business?
All right.
Please remain quiet while Vice Speaker Snell states this, so we can record it accurately in the minutes. Thank you.
All right, Senate Bill 2013-2-016Y, establishing the current revision of Robert's Rules of Order as the parliamentary authority.
Is there any objection to adding this to the bottom of the business? Next one.
Okay, Senate Bill 2013-2-015Y, creating the Student Organization Event Planning Committee.
Is there any objection to adding this to the bottom of your business? Okay.
Okay? Here's a fun one. Senate Bill 2013-2-027. Never heard this one before. SZ. It's a constitutional amendment, everybody. To refine the executive veto and legislative veto override process.
Is there any objection to adding that to the bottom of your business? Next one.
Senate Bill 2013-2-020B. It's another one you haven't seen before. Establishing a temporary policy regarding the executive veto, pending a student vote on the constitutional amendment that I just read.
Is there any objection on adding that to the bottom of your business?
Take that policy.
Do you have any others?
I have 2 more. Senate Resolution 2013-2-025SR, supporting the GSB student fee proposal for FY15. It's basically all that stuff we talked about. And the last one, and Gabby gets cut up. Any objections?
Can you please repeat the title 025?
Let's do it. Supporting the GSB student fee proposal for fiscal year 2015.
Is there any objection to adding that to the bottom of your business? And
Final one, Senate Resolution 2013-2-026, SR, supporting art in the Memorial Union West student office space. It is my intent to waive the second read on that. It seems like a pretty obvious thing. A lot of you already know what it is. Objection.
you object to add that to the bottom of your business?
Oh, you were, I have no objection, sorry.
Okay. Is there any objection to add that to the bottom of your business?
I thought you were asking.
Okay.
That's it.
Do you yield the floor?
I do yield.
Are there any other items for open forum? With that, we'll move into, oh, sorry, Senator Turner.
May I address the figure, please?
Yes.
You're going to send out the revised agenda now, it's all updated, it's going to receive feedback.
Yes. Are there any further items for open forum? With that, we'll move to special orders. We are now on Senate Order 2013-2-020-SC, confirming the Director of Sustainability, Speaker Williams.
Okay, she's typing, so I'll fill in. Second. Title, confirming the Director of Sustainability. Whereas the Director of Sustainability nominee, Allison, is Allison here? Right here. How do I say your last name? Straube, okay. Allison Straube was absent last session due to her studies abroad. And whereas the Director of Sustainability nominee needs Senate confirmation, be it therefore ordered that Allison Straube be confirmed as Director of Sustainability, and be it further ordered that Allison Straube immediately resume all rights and responsibilities of Director of Sustainability as delineated in government law.
With that, I'll give the floor to President Hughes to introduce Alan.
Thank you. So, coming out of last spring, we are ready to wrap up the last two cabinet confirmations tonight. So just a brief reminder, Hillary and I fielded the most cabinet applications of any recent year that I can think of. We had about 90 applicants. This position, in particular, Director of Sustainability, was the position that we interviewed the most applicants for. So Allie is extremely well qualified, and she will tell you a little bit about herself now. And feel free to ask any questions to her.
All right, my name is Alex Garvey. I'm a junior in chemical engineering, and I have a minor in sustainability here at State. Some things that make me qualified for this position is, while starting off as a freshman, I was a recycling chair for my dorm. Then the summer of 2012, I had an internship at SC Johnson working with sustainability in their packaging department. So I worked with companies directly through that, trying to make their processes more sustainable. Then also, as my future career, I'm planning on to go into sustainability, so I've already gotten a job in the Environmental Resource Lab, so it's just an extreme passion of mine.
Senator Turner.
Do you have any plans for, if you're accepted, any plans for the upcoming school year?
Yes, the main goal for this upcoming school year is to expand the recycling program here with the solar powered trash factories going out into the Greek community, like Greekland and near the Cypress Towns.
Director Hober.
What is the biggest sustainability inefficiency you see with Iowa State, and what would you do to correct it?
Can you restate that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you.
Oh, what is the biggest inefficiency or waste that you see with Iowa State, and is there anything you want to do to change that?
I would personally say the biggest inefficiency that I see is solely with recycling, especially in buildings. And I would like to move that after the solar trash factory, but in like, let's say the library or just buildings around campus where there is not recycling available for students to use.
Election Commissioner Gunther.
In recent years, we've had recycling bins in the West Street office space, and it was noticed by me at least that there is none. Would you be curious to work on restoring recycling to the MU?
Yes, definitely.
Are there any further questions for Ally?
Question.
Second.
Okay. Question has been called and seconded. UC has been called. Are there any objections? Congratulations. That we're moving on to Senate Order 2013-2-021 SC, confirming the treasurer, Speaker Williams.
Okay. Senate Order 2013-2-021 SC, titled Confirming the Treasurer. Whereas Julia Huber was nominated for the role of treasurer, and whereas the treasurer nominee needs Senate confirmation, be it therefore ordered that Julia Huber be confirmed as treasurer, and be it further ordered that Julia Huber immediately assumes all rights and responsibilities of treasurer.
President Hughes, the floor is yours.
Okay, I already talked a little bit about the general process with Director of Sustainability Strategy now. I just want to take a minute to brag a little bit. The state of Iowa has a law that requires all appointed boards to be no more than 50% plus one of either gender. And our initial appointments to the cabinet do comply with that law, which is better than 2/3 of all state boards in Iowa right now, which are out of compliance. And this is the first time that cabinet has been in compliance with that law since I confirmed. And that's assuming that you do confirm Julia as treasurer, so she'll introduce herself.
Alright, hi guys, I'm Julia Huber, and I'm a junior, and I'm double majoring in finance and accounting. I guess just some of my qualifications. I was director of finance for Student Union Board last fall. This summer I worked, and I was an intern for a construction company, and so I worked I was the main intern who did payroll, and I also worked with QuickBooks, and I guess that's my main things. I guess when I graduate, I'm looking into, I'd like to do payroll for the Air Force.
Senator Pitt.
Here we go.
Vice Speaker Snell.
Okay, hey Julia. How big is Sub's budget?
Student Union Board, that's a big one. I cannot say it.
It's bigger than the GSB budget is by itself. Like,
It's
the
big,
portion that GSB as a student organization wants.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's millions of dollars. My point in asking you that is you're very qualified to be treasurer because of all the money you've had managed. And I yield, thank you.
Not quite millions of dollars.
Pause. When I said that, I meant the GSB allocation to GSB is smaller than Sub's budget, not the GSB.
We got it.
Big.
We got it. Thank you.
Senator Pitt.
May I address them on me?
You may.
Hi, Julia. Thanks for coming. I just had a couple questions. What's been your interaction as a sub-VP with other student organizations? I don't know exactly the process if you guys work with them at all to help bring events to campus through stuff and helping co-sponsor those with other organizations. Can you speak on that a little?
In all honesty, so I was a first semester, so I wasn't able to get really into a lot of it, but because I mainly just worked with like when we brought Brandon Gilbert here, that was my main big thing that I worked with budgeting, and so I just had to present the budget to his manager, and so I had to get all receipts and had to make a budget for that to make sure, because then at the end of the night we could see if we made a profit or not. And so I know you guys help fund us and for the special events. So
I guess my second question is kind of a follow-up thing. The GSB treasurer is a little different than the student organization treasurer. Coming into this role, you'd be dealing a lot with asset, but would you envision ever seeing the GSB treasurer will actually be an organizational treasurer?
What it is.
Correct.
I guess so. For me, I don't know. Yeah, I was saying about this semester, so I need to get more involved in this GSB and see exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Need to work with Dan a lot, and so that's what I'll be doing. And because right now, I guess I need to know exactly what my job is, so I need to talk to Dan and just see where I can take that from here.
Question.
Second. Question has been called and seconded.
UC.
Is there any objection to UC? Congratulations.
UROC Senator. Whereas the United Residents Off-Campus Constituency Council has an open seat to the GSB Senate. And whereas Zachary Allen Bauer, who is currently a GSB Senator for the Campus Town Students Association, has moved from his previous residence within the CSA district into a new residence within the UROC district. And whereas Zachary Allen Bauer is also currently the chair of the GSB Senate Public Relations Committee, elected to that position virtually unanimously, and whereas UROC has selected Zachary Allen Bauer to be one of their representatives to the Senate, to be it therefore ordered that Zachary Allen Bauer be seated as a GSB Senator representing UROC students, and be it further ordered that Zachary Allen Bauer immediately assumes all rights and responsibilities of the Senator as delineated in government law, and be it further ordered that Zachary Allen Bauer retain his position as the chair of the Public Relations Committee and all the rights and responsibilities thereof.
Senator Johnson.
May I ask a question to the nominee?
You may.
Are you aware of all your responsibilities as GSB Senator?
Yes, I am.
I call the question.
Second.
Question has been called and seconded.
You see.
Is there any objection to UC?
Object.
I withdraw my objection.
Is there any objection to UC? Congratulations, Senator Bauer.
Can I just say something really quickly? My middle name is Alan as well, and my first name is Zachary.
Your last name's not
That
that
would
one.
really be okay, that's it.
I approve of that because that's hilarious.
Spelled differently.
Moving on, Senate Order 2013-2-023 seating a CSA Senator. Senator Parkinson.
Senate Order 2013-2-023. Sorry.
It's funny. I object. It's funny. It's good.
Do you actually?
I have no idea. Good bill though, you should be.
Okay, so, wow. So the bill was moved, considered, read, and seconded. There's no objections. We're now open to discussion on this bill. Senator Fish.
May I direct a question to the nominee?
You may.
Can you talk a little bit about your situation, since it wasn't completely in the bill? Where's your current residence and what's the designation of that residence?
My current residence is the Maricopa Apartments, which falls in the 50014 zip code. And it is not part of IRHA. I've already double checked it, paying no dues or are in any way financially tied to IRHA.
I will yield.
Vice Speaker Snell.
Just to inform the Senate, due to a mistake on the part of the Election Commission last year, 50014 is technically the Campus Town Student Association. So, in theory, anybody who lives almost to Boone or past Gilbert is in CSA. So, if anybody's wondering how Maricopa, by West Town, is allowed to be in CSA, that's how. Question?
Question.
I'll
Oh, Senator Ken.
I just have a question because, if he has moved out of IRHA, would that not mean IRHA is lacking more representative now?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any further questions? Question has been called and seconded.
UC.
Is there any objection to UC? Congratulations. We're now on Senate Order 2013-2. We're now on Senate Order 2013. Thank you. 2013-2-024 SD, seating a Collegiate PanHellenic Council Senator.
Okay, title, seating a Collegiate PanHellenic Council Senator. Whereas the Collegiate PanHellenic Council has nominated Evelyn Ward to be a government and student body GSB Senator, be it therefore ordered that Evelyn Ward be seated as a GSB Senator for the Collegiate PanHellenic Council, and be it further ordered that Ms. Ward immediately assumes all rights and responsibilities of a senator as delineated in government law. And so I will turn it over to Ms. Ward.
Sorry, I'm 6. I have to use mine. Hi guys, I'm Evelyn Ward. I'm a junior in political science and French, and I just spent the past 6 months in France, so if I start speaking in a different language, please excuse me. I've always been really interested in GSB. I actually did attend a few meetings the past fall semester in Freeville, I promise. And I was interested in it, and I really enjoy the work that you do and learning about you guys. And as a poli-sci major, I'm very interested in public policy and bettering the community, so I've always wanted to be a part of that. As a CPC representative, I would just be extending the reach of GSB into the community and hopefully getting them more involved and possibly working with our new sustainability chair to work the recycling program into curriculum as well, which I think is a great idea.
Okay. Are there any questions for Nominee? Senator Kinsler.
Yes, address the nominee.
You may.
Do you have any, I know you mentioned working with a new sustainability person as far as getting recycling bins into pre-plant, but is there anything else that you can think about off the top of your head that you might want to see GSB work closer with CPC or GSB work closer with the university on? Just anything really?
Not at the moment. I did just attend my first CPC meeting, and we do have some things in the works, but nothing formally.
I yield and call the question.
Second.
Oh,
Don't worry about it.
okay.
You see.
Question has been called and seconded. You see it's been called. Is there any objection? Congratulations. With that, we're moving into new business. Senate Bill 2013-2-012F, funding French Alliance.
Title: Funding Cyclone French Alliance. Whereas the Cyclone French Alliance exists to promote the acquisition, practice, and appreciation of French language and culture with those involved in the Iowa State University community, and whereas Cyclone French Alliance experienced communication and transition issues during the regular allocations process, be it therefore that $826 be allocated to Cyclone French Alliance from the Senate discretionary account pursuant to the following budget. I will yield to questions of intent with the statements that they will be appearing both here and at Finance Committee when FDR schedules it.
Senator Johnson.
Is it the council's intent to clarify what the goal of the Cyclone French Alliance is and its differences from French Club and other similar groups that already exist?
Yes.
Senator Byron.
Is it the office intent to clarify the item 3 on the list?
Yes.
Are there any further questions?
I will move to refer to Finance.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about part of the sorry for the process. With that, we will move to Senate Bill 2013-2-013F, funding the Iowa Bash.
Title: Funding the Iowa Bash. I will move to consider as read.
Sorry. At this time, the floor is now open for questions of intent.
Okay. You could. It is also my intent to have a group present and at Finance Committee pending scheduling by FDR. Will yield to questions of intent. I will move to refer to Finance.
Okay. With that, we are moving on to Senate Bill 2013-2-014F, eliminating daily advertisements from priorities and criteria.
Title: Eliminating daily advertisements from priorities and criteria. Whereas the Iowa State Daily already received more than $100,000 in student fees from the governing student body, GSB, and whereas GSB is in the process of re-examining the funding process, and whereas by eliminating the daily advertisements from priorities and criteria, GSB will be able to distribute an extra $20,000 to clubs and organizations, capital items, events, and other expenses. Be it therefore enacted that the subsection Iowa State Daily under the section advertising be eliminated from the criteria expenditures portion of the document. I will open for questions and chat.
Vice Speaker Smith.
May I address Senator Kinsler?
You may.
Thank you. Is it the author's intent to have representatives from the daily or any student organizations that utilize their budgets for advertisements to present their case for or against this?
Here.
Yes.
Senator Bauer.
Is it the author's intent to possibly see if we're able to look up how groups utilize the daily advertisements after we fund them? So seeing who uses them and who does not.
Is it possible for us?
Is there an intent to try?
Yes. And I will also say it's my intent to refer to finance committee.
Are there any further questions of intent?
At this time, I'd like to refer the bill to finance committee.
With that, we are on Senate Bill 2013-2-017F.
You're good.
No, I missed 019F. Did I skip 019F?
Yeah.
Okay, so Senate Bill 2013-2-019F, funding health.
Title funding, golf club. Whereas the IG Golf Club has recently joined the National Collegiate Golf Association, and I'll do it for a minute. And whereas the organization needs help with funding their activities for the fall 2013 semester, be it therefore enacted that the amount is changed. I believe Mary sent us half the email today. Be allocated to the ISU Golf Club for consent discretion account pursuant to the fall budget. I'll yield the questions of intent after missing that it is my intent to have the group here and at my next meeting and scheduling of that.
Are there any questions of intent?
I'll move your refer to comments. Second.
Okay. With that, we're on Senate Bill 2013-2-017F, creating an election commission account.
I'm going to remain seated since I've got a bunch to read, so.
It's been rolled.
Point of order, please.
All right, 2013-2-017F, creating an election commission account. Whereas the GSB Election Commission works hard to promote the annual GSB elections and has a great deal more work to do to improve the visible turnout of these elections. And whereas it requires money to properly promote an election, spread the message effectively, and to the greatest amount of people so that students may exercise the greatest possible oversight over their student government. Be it therefore enacted that an election commission account be created to hold funds for use by the election commission. And be it also enacted that the election commissioner has discretion over expenditures from this account approved by a majority vote of seated members of the election commission. And be it also enacted that this new election commission account has the same restrictions of other like accounts. Be it also enacted that the election commissioner must report all expenditures from this account to the GSB Senate at the soonest regular Senate meeting following the expenditure. And be it also enacted that an amount to be determined to be transferred to this account immediately. And I will move forward to questions of intent.
Election Commissioner Gunther.
Is it the office's intent to talk at length, not at length, but to talk about whether items previously designated for elections will be transferred over, or the fate of whatever the
Ask me that again.
There's items already in the GSB budget set aside for the GSB elections. Would this bill cover a process to transfer over to the new account?
I will, since I'm obliged to yes or no, I will say yes.
Thank you.
So talk to me afterwards.
All right.
Senator Finn.
Is it the author's intent to, I guess, give the process for how this would work since the treasurer still needs to sign off on all expenditures?
I'm going to say no. It's a loaded question. I mean, I can explain it.
Are there any further questions of intent?
Dan's going.
Finance Director Bisbee.
Is it the author's intent to ensure that this allocation would comply with all university policies?
It is. Absolutely. modify this and then send it to the finance committee.
As a point of order,
Someone send it to me?
the election commission is a separate entity. We would not send it to correct?
We do not have.
Yeah, then the legislative committee.
You get their email.
Okay, can someone please clarify?
Okay, I'll just send it to the finance committee on the expectation that senators will work with the election commission.
And with that, we are now on Senate Bill 2013-2-016Y. I don't know the title of that.
Actually, let me back up. Can we do 18F?
Sorry. Senate Bill 2013-2-018F.
Okay, 2013-2-018F, creating a public relations account.
Move to consider and recommend. Second.
We'll open the floor to questions.
Senator Bauer.
Is it the author's intent to refer this to the Public Relations Committee for consideration?
Apparently, I can absolutely do that, yes. All right.
Are there any further questions? Finance Director Disky.
The author's intent to clarify the language in the third enacted clause.
Yes. So I'm going to leave that up to the Public Relations Committee.
Are there any further questions from the panel?
If I can give my own point of information here, I never create these bills to be perfect. I expect them to be modified and changed, so if anybody thinks that something's wrong, I understand that, so probably save some time. You're not asking me if I can change things.
And one thing I'll interject here before we move on to the next bill. As a reminder for all, a point of information is a request for information from the chair. So I know that's something we were trying to improve at the end of last year, and I'd like to continue to improve the use of that phrase when we're using parliamentary procedure. We're now...
And also, just to clarify, removing this to PR.
Yes. Was there a second to move this to?
Second.
We're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-016Y.
Title establishing a current revision of Robert's Rules of Order as the parliamentary authority.
Move to consider and recommend.
Object.
Okay. Whereas Chapter 4, Section 1 of the Government of the Student Body Bylaws currently states, the parliamentary authority of the Senate and all Senate committees shall be the Robert's Rules of Order newly revised 10th edition specifically, unless special rules are delineated in these bylaws, and whereas Robert's Rules of Order has been revised for 11th edition at the time of this legislation, and whereas it is an unnecessary expenditure of the Senate's time to revise this bylaw provision every time Robert's Rules of Order is revised, be it therefore enacted that 4.1 of the bylaws be changed to state, the parliamentary authority of the Senate and all Senate committees shall be the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, unless special rules are delineated in these bylaws.
Floor is now open for questions of intent. Senator Kensler.
Is it the author's intent to explain where the funding for purchasing new Robert's Rules of Order books will be coming from?
Certainly.
Are there any further questions of intent?
This time I move to send this to Rules Committee.
Second. Senate Bill 2013-2- is that 16 or 15?
This one's 15.
015Y.
Okay, title, Creating a Student Organization Event Planning Committee. Whereas the government of the student body possesses an elevated level of influence and knowledge of and experience with Iowa State University policies, procedures, and personnel, and whereas it is in the interest of ISU students or their student government.
Second.
Is there any objection? That has been moved to be considered as read. The floor is now open for questions of intent.
Without questions of intent, I move to send this. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Senator Barlow.
Is it the author's intent to come up with a proposal for the necessity of a new standing committee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Finance Director to speak.
Would the author please utilize his bylaws ability to talk about the bill without reading the whole thing? For those who might not have read the entire text as of yet and would like to be informed about the idea on the first reading.
Ask for a ruling from the chair. May I
It's
do
in the
that?
bylaws.
Okay.
I will. I have read that. Yes, you may.
Okay. If you want, you can ask me some more questions specifically about this and closing announcement. I'd be more than happy to answer those questions then. Basically, a lot of you heard this lecture, so I'll keep it as short as I can. Because of the pending revisions of our finance rules that are coming in the future, we don't know what those are yet, but we know they're coming, and we know that they're going to be probably more restrictive than they are. If we're going to stop funding certain things to certain student organizations, that raises the onus of responsibility upon this body to assist student organizations who no longer can receive funding or are not receiving funding from us any longer, to help them organize, plan their event and whatnot, and perhaps chase down other funding separate from us as well. Now that is a big job, because there are a lot of organizations that request funding. We're probably going to be telling a lot of people no in the future. As I don't think anybody here just wants to slam the door in anybody's face and, and tell them, so sorry. We need to have another option for them to pursue where we can help them, where we can have all the paperwork they need to fill out, where we can have contact with all the people they need to speak with, where we have the expertise, essentially, to have a turnkey solution for them to come in and say, this is our club, this is what we want to do. And we can help them out with that. Because if anybody in this room is planning an event, you know how very difficult that process is. There are a lot of hoops to jump through. There are a lot of forms to get signed. There are a lot of people to get approval from. It's a tedious task. Now, if you're just some club who comes in here and asks us for $450 for some little thing, and then they go off and we never see them again for 7 more years, they're probably not the kind of organization that has access to the resources that we do. The big clubs like Visha and Sub, they've got this down pat. The goal of this is to have a team of people who also have it down pat, so we can help those people we tell no in funding, or who may not have access to as much funding as they need in requesting from us. Okay? Like I said, I'll be happy to answer more questions about that. And that's all I'll say. If anybody has any other questions other than that, I will move to send this to rules as well.
You're now on Senate Bill 2013-2-027SC.
Okay. Title: Constitutional Amendment to refine the executive veto and legislative veto override process. Whereas in the 2000...
Consider as read with the consideration of bylaw 4.8.3.2, letting the speaker speak for up to 5 minutes.
Okay. The point of this, I actually explained it in here. And I will be the first to admit that I do not know what a constitutional amendment looks like, so if it's the wrong format, we'll fix that. If it's the wrong language, I know Spencer will work with us. We are all in the same team on this. This is not an adversarial thing. What arises here, if you guys remember, right before the Meet Your Governor Day, on a Wednesday night, we got that funding approved, $2,000. The event was Monday, so we had 5 days. On Saturday night, Sunday morning, somewhere in that weekend, the former president vetoed that. After we received the funding, Senator Voss was the organizer and went and made the agreements necessary to contract with Fairway and other vendors who were providing food and services. Therefore, the veto created a very distinct problem with that. Now, what happened was that instigated UROC filing an injunction with the Supreme Court to halt the veto in order to have a hearing. However, since it was such a short duration of time, the injunction was enough to cause the veto to allow the event to happen. The basis for the injunction was that the Senate was denied the ability to override the veto in order to let the event go on. Now, I'm guessing to anybody's knowledge, this kind of thing has never happened before, so where the Constitution says that the president has 6 days, it's probably never happened where the event was so soon, or where the event was prior to dead week, which was the case. We would not have had another meeting even if the event was after Wednesday, the next Wednesday. So this created a crisis where the president had vetoed something, but there was no opportunity to review the veto. The court upheld the injunction, but with the end of the presidential term coming, we never ended up having the hearing in the first place because the point was moot. The president who issued the veto was no longer president. When Spencer took over, one of the very first things that we talked about was correcting this issue. So we are looking to amend the Constitution, and that requires us to pass this bill or whatever bill we come up with when we hash it out. I'm sure it'll look completely different from this when we're done. We have to approve this with a 2/3 vote. The Election Commission will work with IT services, and that whatever we get done here will be put on the ballot. Then the student body will vote, and as long as the majority vote passes for that, we will have a new section, what is it, Article 3, I believe. We have a new entry in Article 3 regarding the veto powers. And this bill is limited to 48 hours. Spencer and I agree that it's probably long enough for a president to be able to decide whether or not a veto is appropriate, and it gives us, the Senate, enough time to call a special session if necessary, or will give us time for the next meeting to discuss this. Even if dead week or the session changes, for example, if we go from session 2 to session 3 over the winter break, those kind of contingencies are covered. Worst case scenario, we'll have to meet on like Friday night or Saturday or something if it's a big deal, but it gives us the option.
Are there any questions of the Senator Kinzer?
Is it the author's intent to explain, is it the author's intent to look at the clause where it states that the override of the executive veto can only be done during a regularly scheduled meeting?
Yes, and I may have that in here, but I've forgotten it too. We'll address that in the rules.
Are there any further questions in the text?
I move to send to rules.
Before I move on, I have a question of parliamentary inquiry to direct at Speaker Williams. When we send something to a committee, do we also need to vote on it and receive a majority vote to send it to a committee? I don't believe so. Okay.
I think it's a, can I speak to that?
Yes.
It may be a privileged motion since it's my bill, and I still retain control of it until it's taken out of my control, so I can send it to a committee. It has to be sent to a committee anyway.
I just was wondering, because I wasn't sure when we were doing it, I wanted to make sure it was proceeding correctly. Thank you for answering that.
Could be wrong, and I also bet to find out.
So if anyone wants to review that over the next week, let me know next week. We can do that. With that, we'll move on to Senate Bill 113-2-0208. 020B.
Title: Establishing a temporary policy regarding the executive veto pending a student vote on the constitutional amendment regarding vetoes during 2004 election.
Move to consider as read with consideration of bylaw 4.8.3.2.
All right. Okay. This one won't take nearly long. This, because the constitutional amendment obviously can't happen until we have an election, that gives us several months where, in theory, we're not covered. Now, I don't expect that to be the case, but we think that if we're going to do this, and it's probably wise to establish an executive policy. That's what a B bill is. It's an executive policy. So the Senate has policies, the executive branch can have policies too. So this policy is just saying that the executive branch will follow the stipulations of the amendment until we have a vote on the amendment. That's all it is.
Are there any questions in the text?
Move to Senate rules. Moving right along.
Senate Bill 2013-2-025 SR. Senate order.
Supporting the GSB student fee proposal for fiscal year 2015.
Move to consideration of previous bylaw.
Point of order, please. Vice Speaker Snell.
Okay. This is a request from the Finance Committee. I don't know if we did this last year. We may have. I don't recall. But basically, this is saying that as your representative, I've received your advice and consent, and then working with Spencer and Dan back there, that together unanimously we are in favor of the increase of 4.99%. Providing that we all agree on this. This then will be given to all of the people on the Student Fees Committee, as well as allows President Hughes to deliver this resolution when he actually has the meeting with them about this particular issue. And then he can deliver it at that time. So this is just saying that you work with me, you know what's up, you support the increase, and go Cyclones. So.
Are there any questions on that? Senator Pitt.
Is it the author's intent to waive second read?
On this one, no. I think we need to have discussion on it.
Okay. Senator Pitt, to address your question, our meeting next week for SSFTC is not until Thursday afternoon. Are there any further questions on that?
Yeah, I'll move to send this one to rules, and please talk to me about it if you have objections.
Senate Order 2013-2-026 SR.
All right, title, Supporting Art in Memorial Union West Student Office Space. Whereas the government of the Student Body Office is located in the West Student Office Space in Memorial Union, and whereas the wall art in the West Student Office Space has not been changed in many years, and whereas GSB would love to have the West Office decorated with new wall art, be it therefore resolved that the GSB Senate on my request, the West Office be placed in the queue for the rotating art program at Memorial Union. And be it also resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the workspace coordinator, Letitia, I always get the problem wrong, Letitia Timmer, NU Director Richard Reynolds, and NU Associate Director Corey. And it is my intent to waive second reading. This seems pretty simple.
Senator Pitt.
Is it the author's intent to have the appropriate title for Assistant Director, Williamson?
Did I get it wrong?
Associate. Okay.
Is that right? Okay.
Are there any further questions on the Vice Speaker Snell, the floor is yours.
Okay, I move to waive second read. That's your vote.
Speaker Williams, point of parliamentary inquiry. So when someone moves to waive second read and there is an objection,
I'd like to defer this to
Senator Pennsylvania.
for a second opinion.
Since it's a privilege motion, it requires 2/3 vote in order to waive second reading.
Okay, thank you. So there has been an objection. We are now going to move to voting on waiving.
As a point of information to the chair, is there anybody here who wishes to have the bill read again so we may debate it because they don't have copies of this?
We have to,
Do you? Okay, awesome.
so we are voting on whether to or not to waive the second read. There's been a request for a placard vote. So if you would like to waive second read, please raise your placard high.
Done. Point of order.
Placards down. Up for no.
Raise up high, please.
Down. Up for abstentions. By a vote of 25-5-0, second read is waived. Election Commissioner Gunther.
May I address Vice Speaker Snell? Sorry.
You may.
Is it, I don't know. I know the alt's kind of ugly in the Wasatch, but I'm actually impartial to the the Perkins guy. I was wondering if we could keep that above the fuel tab. So that's my 2 cents. I actually like that one. I hope we keep it.
We don't have to get rid of everything.
Okay, I like that.
This basically what goes on is there are rooms in you here that Letitia changes the yard out every once in a while. This is one of them. Actually, if you come back here in a month, all the yard will be different. There are several places in the MU where the yard is changed frequently. I know a lot of people make fun of that oil painting foil thing over the couch, so it just seems like it'd be nice to have the Western office space, not just our side, but the whole thing, put into the queue for Letitia's program. So we can have every few months some art that's new to look at. It won't always be great. Some will probably be worse than what we've got, and some will probably be better too, but it'll be new instead of the 10-year-old painting that we've got there. You know, I could have gone down and asked for this on my own. Zach and I tried to do that, but she was out. Then I thought better of it. It's kind of a group decision if we want to change the art. So here we are.
Senator Neat.
Is this your house in money?
No. Good question. Thank you.
Senator
Yeah, so you're aware that sometimes the art is a little questionable, right?
I believe that Letitia has enough discretion to choose art that would be appropriate for an office.
Have you ever considered possibly, I'm sorry, have you ever considered like having a student or someone be a part of choosing the art for the office, like help her choose?
They can. If we do this, then they will be able to do that. If you make something, then we can put it up on the wall. That'll be fine.
Okay, so it's like you should have a computer design.
All this stuff is from Iowa State students.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm sorry. Question.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so question has been called in second, but there has been an objection. So we will now vote on whether or not.
She withdrew her question.
You withdraw? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay. Senator Kensler.
I was just going to say that I'm not quite sure if it's GSB's job to be writing resolutions, particularly for this, because it's not just GSB that shares the Western office space. So I would like to maybe, it could have been done informally with the other people who occupy the Western office space, whether that be, like Super Snell, or GBSS, and you say, hey, you want to change this picture. But I just don't think it's a good use of a student resolution or a Senate resolution, because I feel that resolution should be used for voicing the concerns or opinions of the student body as a whole, not necessarily stuff that's for the society.
Senator Johnson.
Okay, I don't know the official terminology for this, doesn't make my crystal, but I'd like to move to make some sort of friendly amendment to add a clause about consulting the other groups that occupy the Western office space about this resolution before it takes effect. So
would you like to move to make
an
an
amendment?
That would be
That would be an entire amendment. Are you able to restate your amendment?
After the third whereas clause, I would add, I'd like to change the third one. Say GSB would love to have the WSOS, whatever, decorated with new wall art, and whereas GSB would consult other groups that occupy.
We are now on, is there a second? There's now an amendment that has been moved and seconded. We are now on discussion of the amendment. Vice Speaker Snell.
If you guys want to object this, please do, but I move to table bills and send it to rules.
So we can award it, we're currently on the amendment.
Yes, we are on the amendment.
So I can move it anytime and send it to table it.
As a
I'll tell you what, I'll wait until after the amendment if that makes it simpler.
Okay. I'll say.
No one has the floor right now, first off. So, no one else has their placard up right now, currently. So, Senator Kensler, we are on discussion of the amendment.
Seeing as how we're on discussion of the amendment, I think that the amendment definitely helps it. I still think it's in place, but the amendment should pass, so I'm going to call a question on the amendment.
Second.
The amendment has, the question has been called and seconded on the amendment. UC, is there any objection to UC? The amendment passes. Senator Finn.
I move to table the bill with the note that we should not have read it tonight.
Boo. Point of order.
First point of order. It was moved and seconded to table it. Is there any objection to UC on tabling this bill? That bill is now tabled. As a question to Speaker Williams and Vice President, are there any bills that I missed? Okay. We are now moving into closing announcements. Senator Gonzalez.
I just figured I would give you an update on whether or not you can vote on framework committee. I looked it up on Robert Rules for Government. And it does require a majority vote, according to Robert.
That's thank you for that, Senator Mazzoni, and I will talk to some of our parliamentarians outside of the meeting and just figure out if there's a reason we haven't currently employed that in the Government and Student Body Center. So thank you. Senator Kensler.
Okay, since we're closing announcements, I just wanted to say one quick thing. This isn't targeted at any specific senator, but when you add bills to the agenda, please make sure that they're usually very time sensitive, because if you add a bill to the agenda the night that we have it for first read, it denies senators the ability to prepare questions of intent. And there is a reason we have a deadline, so that those senators can have a time to prepare for questions of intent. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Senator Fitton.
I'm happy to be back, first of all. It was really quiet around Ames without all of you here this summer, which kind of plays into my point. I was a cyclonate over the summer, working with news orientation along with Destination Iowa State. Hopefully you'll be seeing our letter to the editor tomorrow concerning those couple of programs. But I do want to just give a quick plug to the cyclonate position. If you have any students that really have an interest in learning a lot about the university, even someone like myself who thought I had pretty good speaking skills, public speaking skills, you definitely get to develop that, just a lot of personal development. Once again, President Hughes and FDR can speak to the experience as well. I encourage anyone who's interested in that to apply. If you have any friends that you would know that would be interested in it, send them my way. My email is a.fitton@IState. So just once again, a pretty good experience, good learning experience, a lot of long hours, but it pays really well. And once again, way to get really connected with the university. With that, once again, really great to see all you guys again. I can't wait for next week to continue to get rolling on all those together.
Senator Bauer.
Like I said, Club Fest next Wednesday. I'll send out sign-up sheets tonight, hopefully. Like I said, please work at least an hour if you can. We need as many people there as possible. So we have a lot of different openings, whether it be Senate seats or committee seats. So please look for that and sign up for that if possible. And also, speaking on openings, refer anyone to the GSB website under the Get Involved tab on the far right. It has all the openings on GSB. So if anyone's curious about that, they can look there. Finance Committee applications there and the Election Commission applications there. So they have the those out there. And then if there's any other questions, you can email myself or the respective committee chair. And there you go.
President Hughes.
Good first meeting, everybody. Hopefully, when the weather starts getting a little cooler, we'll see more suits and less t-shirts around here. But this is a personal preference of mine. I just wanted to remind you about the speaker on September 30th at 3 p.m. The law guy from the University of Illinois, speaker academic freedom. Let me know if you're interested in that soon, so that I can pass that along. Because that's not the thing that's set in stone. It will be scheduled if interest is expressed. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Chief of Staff Reed.
Hi, Mr. Quick. I just want to let you guys know that and probably several Wednesday nights throughout the year. What we'll be doing is if you order a meal anytime between 4 and 7 from Panda Express, you'll get $1 from it. And so I definitely encourage you guys to go down to Panda Express next Wednesday night before Senate, grab something to eat. Maybe if you have your friends who like Panda, go ahead and invite them to come. In order to get the credit card, though, we do have to turn it, each person who purchases has to turn on a little coupon thing that says that it's from GSB that we recommended it. And so those will be available at Mary's desk in the West Student Office space as soon as we begin to receive those in Panda. So that'll be this coming Wednesday, 4 to 7.
Senator Bauer, I know you have something to add.
Yeah, also we have the MU Food Court fundraiser September 10th. That one's it's a lot less easier, excuse me. It's like a portion of every meal bundle that's purchased between 4 to 7 p.m. goes back towards us. We end up getting, hopefully, we end up getting a good chunk of change from past clubs that I've done this with. We get, like I said, a pretty good chunk of change. So if you have meal bundles, spend them, tell your friends to go there and eat, get 100 people or so, just go on there and have a great meal. So September 10th is that one.
Senator Rowe? Okay, on the Panda Express, have they changed it? I don't know if they changed it, I'm just kidding. Have they changed the rules that you cannot advertise or speak of the fundraiser the day of it actually happening? Because the last time I dealt with that all the time, I did not speak of or advertise the actual events during that day.
When I went through the fundraiser guidelines, it just said you couldn't pass out the flyers within a certain distance of the food court. Basically, that means that we'll probably end up doing it outside of the Memorial Union near the entrances. That's what we're going to do. And then also in West Student. They haven't said anything to me about the same day. So.
Senator Kessler.
Hey, that's a question for Senator Bauer. Senator Bauer, what are these funds being used for? Do we have any idea? Are they going to do?
Part of it will be going to the retreat because we will be providing a free lunch. And as everyone in this room knows, GSB doesn't fund food, so this is a way that we can fund food without getting criticism from anyone. So that's part of it. And then other parts of it will go towards kind of like the ER-based stuff and anything else that receives food.
Election.
I have a few closing announcements as well tonight. Did I miss anything with the library? This room is really thrown off my vibe. Okay. So, as Senator Bauer mentioned earlier tonight, the retreat is scheduled for September 21st. I just want to let you all know that I'm really, really excited for the retreat, and there's going to be a lot of useful information for you to use throughout your year of serving the Iowa State students, and I highly recommend attending. And there might be another stipulation with your attendance. I'm going to be speaking to Speaker Williams about that, so I'll keep you in the loop for that next week. If you're interested in planning the graduate research presentation seminar next spring, as the GPSS president mentioned earlier tonight, or know of anyone who would be interested, please speak to me, as that's a committee that I can get you in touch with. And branching off of that, I do have a few committees that still have openings. So if on top of responsibilities you already have for GSB, you're looking for another committee to get involved in on the university level, please shoot me an email because I do have a few openings still available and would love to work on finding another opportunity for you. Mentioned this earlier, I'm going to mention it one more time. Point of information is a request to the chair for information. I also want to openly thank Senator Bauer for giving me water during the meeting. I'm also sick like Evelyn, and this is much appreciated, so thank you, Senator Bauer. And finally, please leave your placards at the front table. When you are done, do not take them home with you. And that is all I have. Vice Speaker Smith, do you have anything? Sorry. Finance Director Risky.
All right, so as I said, I don't have the final results of last year's closing out, so I will have account balances and state of GSB's fiscal health updates to you as I get them. So that will be coming out. Don't forget about Finance Committee at Large applications. And if for some reason you missed out and wanted to join Finance Committee, I'm pretty sure I have an open seat for a senator. So that's one of all of you. So you should join up. With that, that's like.
Speaker Williams? Oh, I missed someone. Election Commissioner Governor.
Just real quick, if you know anyone that's interested in joining up on the Elections Commission, the application's like everywhere. And Collegiate says hi.
Speaker Williams. Sure. Okay. This was a really good meeting, nice and short too, so that's pretty good. Good discussion. I mean, not that. You know, get used to it, so it's good. And I'd just like to welcome you guys again, and we'll kind of get in the groove and just make this go really smoothly. Also, I would just like to say, just to reiterate, please have your office hours in and just kind of look and get that done. It does have to be in by Wednesday, so next week, so that's a priority, so please get that done. Also, there's a lot of bills that were presented today, especially after the fact, so please look them over thoroughly. A lot of them will be at rules and at finance. We both meet on Mondays, and we can get you that information if you needed to, but it's in our opinion. So please attend those meetings. It's really helpful for you and for all of us to kind of have that information while you're in the meeting instead of just hearsay from other people. So it's really, do you have something to add? Okay. That's my alarm. Lastly, I sent around something for Canvastown. They're having it's called FAC, but it's Friday at Canvastown. And so that's exciting. But I sent it around. It should be pretty cool. There's a beer garden, so you have to be 21 or older for that. But there's a lot of other stuff for everyone of any kind of age. So it's kind of a cool, like, welcome back thing. Also, the fruit crawl, we're just trying to get a better date on that. Also, Kingland Systems was mentioned, and there was a city council meeting this past Tuesday, and which was really interesting, and like multiple people have said, there's a lot of room for student input, and I really like that. We're actually trying to develop, I don't know if you want one more committee or a student group to be able to address some of these issues and to relay that information to you. I also might have the president of Kingland Systems just come here just so you guys get a little bit better information. This has been going on for quite some time now, and so he would be better at explaining it than I would, or just your hearsay. So we might get that done. If you have anyone else that you really want to listen to, we're setting up programs. We're pretty good through September and a little bit of October, but just please let myself know. And so, good meeting, and that's all I have to say. So, oh my God, we do have one exciting piece of information. So I'd like to defer to Senator Voss for a few words.
Hold on. We can have everybody be quiet for us too. We appreciate it. This is serious.
Yeah, I know we all want to get out of here, but I do have something I wanted to share that was happening in my life. I was developing the later end of the school year last year, and still now. And it's very helpful for me, and I think what I have to say is will benefit all of you. It's not really to explain why I'm such an army person, but I want to start by divulging information about myself that I never made known openly. Information that only been made known by family and close friends. I do not come from a family of higher education. Aside from my grandfather on the mother's side, who was a Marvel company man, taught at vocational schools over the years. My mother never walked in high school. She eventually got her TE, so she could better find a job to support her children as a single mother. My father, due to family tragedy, was never able to attend high school. He had to join the workforce with an 8th grade education, and still to this day, works for close to minimum wage. His father, who was about 15 years ago, was illiterate. He has since been tutored in 3 other venues at restaurants and read headlines in newspapers. My grandfather on my mother's side and my mother fought for me so that I could attend a four-year institution. And they are the reason I am here today. I have since then excelled in academics, and my being here at Iowa State was one of the greatest sources of pride for my grandfather and my mother. My schooling was the topic of many of my mother and grandfather's conversations with family and friends. On October 5th, 2011, my grandfather passed away unexpectedly from a massive heart attack at age 79. Due to my parents' divorce at an early age and the close proximity of my grandparents' home to our mom's home, he was one of the most influential people in my life, and the loss of him was a life-changing moment for me. But it was not to prepare me for what was to come next. In late January, early February of this year, my mother was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Excuse me. Thought I'd get through this. We were to remain hopeful for her, but to prepare for the worst. I tried to do things extra. I doubled my efforts to make her proud. I continued to go work in schooling, and I tried to do things on the side to double those efforts. I went to St. Louis for an EU simulation. And although it was not a main reason at first, I, after a long discussion with colleagues, decided to share an event on campus called Government Day. Over the telephone, when she was not sick that day from the cancer and the chemotherapy, or when I was back home on the weekends to take care of her at home or in the hospital, I would talk to her about what I was doing. And her being a busybody, was always setting up events back home for family and friends. I would ask her for advice on what to do about planning this event. After a while, it became something to keep us going. After the arduous process that it took to make that event a success, I went back to visit my mother, who had been bedridden at a hospital home in Nebraska, to tell her great news in person. Although by this time, several major strokes and the sickness of the cancer, chemotherapy, and the medication she was taking limited her communicative abilities. She was able to, with my physical exertion, to tell her that she loved me and that she was so proud of me. During finals week, the family was called in. On May 11th, 11:50 p.m., just 10 minutes before Mother's Day, my mother passed away at Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City, Iowa, from the complications of that cancer. She didn't make it to the age of 50. Even knowing the emotional and psychological damage that occurred, I stayed with her to comfort her as she passed. I knew life wasn't going to be easy. I just didn't know sometimes it was going to be so hard. Things like this that happen in a person's life can leave burning questions that make you demand answers. I asked why. Like, good people. And I never found an answer to that question. God doesn't give those answers. I did, however, learn about the true importance of family, the power of such simple words like hope and love. And I learned to be thankful for the people living my life, be thankful for the memories of those who are no longer. Although terrible things do happen to good people, I know we ought to be thankful. I spoke about these things at my mother's eulogy. But there's one thing I didn't share, and that is what I want to share with all of you here. Before leaving the hospital that night, we were to gather up all of Mom's things to take out of her room. While cleaning up, I found a smaller sized traveling case, and I opened it up. In it were things a person would take with them to the hospital, knowing it would be their last visit. And it was a quilt made by my uncle, a King James Bible, a picture of her grandchildren, and a newspaper from the Iowa State Daily. Its headlines on the bottom half of the front page read, "Meet Your Government Day Succeeds." Now I know that event was for most, and for me at the time, just something to help an organization that you were a part of. Business as usual. But to a dying mother, it meant so much more, and to me now, more than I could have ever imagined. The point I'm trying to get at, where I want to go with this, is that if you are in a position where you can act, maybe here, or a position down the road, that you feel that something is right or ought to be done, then put your foot down and fight for it. Because you just don't know the profound effect and positive benefit that your actions may have on yourself, on others, and on those who love you dearly. So if you put something here on the floor at these meetings and hear me grumble and complain, that's okay. People grumble and complain when I try to get a bill passed to get all hot dogs on Central Campus. And that's what makes it all more worth it when you succeed. We're all here to make a difference, and as different people, our definition of that difference varies. Now, I don't have much more to say before I excuse myself from this meeting, but I do want to say thank you to those who helped make that event succeed, even without knowing how much it meant to me. Thank you for listening today.